LaxFactor podcast.
What is up, Lacrosse fans? This is another episode of the LaxFactor podcast. I think we're on 49, so 50 is coming up right around the corner here. So today we're going to talk about the PLL game from last night, the first PLL playoff game. We are going to talk about a new podcast that we're going to do randomly until January 31st, and then every Friday, starting on February 1st through the rest of the season. We're going to talk about the copyright strike that we received, I believe it was yesterday, which is going to actually change the way we do when we put out these podcasts. I'll actually end up talking about that first quickly. And then we're going to talk about some college stuff. We're going to talk about goalies that are coming back that had, that put up good numbers last year and that are expected to probably do well again here and fill some of the All-American holes that have been left open by graduating goalkeepers. So we're going to get into all of that. First, I want to say if you want to support the podcast and everything we're doing here, you can go to LaxFactor.com. You can buy yourself a t-shirt, swag, coffee cup. If you need team gear, we offer that up as well. You can get t-shirts. We have hats, all sorts of crap. Just go to LaxFactor.com. You can also watch all of these videos that we put up here on YouTube. We also put up same day. Starting last week on the website. So if you're watching this video right now, in the link or in the description down below, we're going to have links to the page that will host this video moving forward at the same time that it goes live. So you can actually go through to our website and watch it there, still through YouTube right now, but it'll also give you a link to listen to the audio version of the podcast. If you're down with that, all you have to do is go to LaxFactor.com/podcast, and that will take you to the page that has both our audio version as well as all of the embedded podcasts that we put up all time here. And that's pretty much it. So first thing on the docket, I wanted to talk about our copyright strike. What happens here is we use videos from ESPN and all sorts of other places to put together highlight videos and to use as cuts and highlight cuts as we do the podcasts, as you've all probably gotten used to seeing here. And what happens is every once in a while they will claim the highlight video. So where we put up just a 11-minute highlight cut of Syracuse, Virginia, usually we get to keep that video and we get the revenue for that video. But sometimes they claim them, the copyright holders will, and we don't fight that. It's their material. They claim it, they get it. Recently, they have started claiming our podcasts, which is not technically proper use of YouTube's content ID match system. So we've had scenarios lately where a 7-second clip in a 30-minute podcast is causing us to lose all revenue for that podcast. And so we actually decided to try to fight one of them. And through fighting that content ID match, we ended up getting a copyright strike, which we could fight. We could even potentially win it, but we're not going to. We really put this out for the sake of the people who listen for the most part via audio, and the YouTube thing has just blown up and been great on top of it. So one of the things we're going to start doing with the podcast is we're going to play around with different ways of putting video in the podcast that doesn't cause it to get content ID match, so we can continue to make money when we put these up on YouTube. But we will also probably do a lot more of these with no highlight cuts, and what that'll end up doing is enable us to put up more. You know, if I shoot a 30-minute podcast, I record it for 30 minutes as I'm rambling, but then I talk, or then I have to cut that video up and edit it and put highlights in it. And I mean, that takes 2-3 hours sometimes. If we just record me rambling for 30 minutes about all the news of the day, and we don't do anything other than maybe just put some graphics in it, as you're going to see as we ramble through this one, we can put a lot more of these up. So I think for the sake of YouTube and for the sake of not getting our content and revenue taken from us, all for a 7-second highlight clip, I think even if it causes less people to watch, because I'm sure people like the highlights and some people may only watch them because of the highlights and the news aspect of it, we're going to probably risk it. So this will be one of the first podcasts that we put up long form with nothing in it. It's going to have some graphics running along the bottom here, as you're going to notice, and I'm not putting highlights in. We're not even putting PLL highlights in, although they haven't given us a problem yet. But the whole kicker just becomes, we need this channel because it's one of the biggest ways for us to be able to market ourselves and get the podcast out there. We rely on it, so we're not going to risk it over copyright strikes and things of that sort. So next thing I want to get into, we are going to do another podcast that we're going to start probably next week, and then we'll do it randomly until we get up to January 31st will be the last random one, and then February 1st on, we'll do it every Friday. It's going to be a Syracuse Lacrosse podcast for the Syracuse Lacrosse fans. 2 reasons why we would do this is One, and I said this before, there's certain teams that just draw more views overall, and they just have a larger fan base, and Syracuse is one of them. Hopkins is another. There's a lot of teams we talk a lot about. We're going to always talk about the teams that are doing well any given year, and then we're going to talk about the teams that, whether they're doing well or not, they get views and people are interested, because obviously our goal is to reach people's eyeballs and their ears. So we're going to start the Syracuse Lacrosse podcast. We'll do one shortly here, just talking about their new assistant coaching hire, but I won't get into that here and now. PLL playoff game. That was a big one last night. We had some amazingly great times watching it. It was a good game. I drank some beer, watched it sitting outside on the porch for a while, and then I moved myself into the living room, and I started getting eaten alive by mosquitoes because I am so sweet. Mosquitoes love me. It's just a fact. So yes, great game though from the beginning. The Jackson Place thing at the end was rough. It was rough to watch. It was rough to see. Thoughts and prayers go out to him, his family, his friends, everybody in the PLL that is around him, that knows him and loves him. It was a tough thing to watch. So we'll be. There is no update as I'm recording this so far. But as we find out information from the PLL, all of us will pretty much hear it at the same time. So thoughts and prayers go out to him. And it was sad. It was sad in the sense that you don't want to see that happen to a player, but this game was hard fought from the beginning to the end, up until that point, I would say almost anyway. So, I mean, it was an incredible game. The energy was off the charts. The crowd was into it. They were loud. The players were just beating each other up. And then to have such a just odd bang, bang, play at the end of it, like to have it took the wind out of everything, but we'll get into that. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was sick crossfield pass from Schreiber to Will Manny. And it's the second time I've seen him throw this exact pass. And I believe the first one, I think it was last week, he threw one on a rope. And this time, I mean, he's driving down the left alley, almost a full sprint with a guy on him, drawing slides. And he just whips the ball across the field through everybody. I thought he was throwing it to the high crease at first. Nope. He's throwing it to Will Manny on the backside again, and Manny sticks it. That was the second goal of the game. Gave the Archers a 2-0 lead, and there's not a lot of guys that play the sport of lacrosse that can throw that pass the way that it was done. Maybe not anybody. That's stupid. I mean, guys could do it, but I'm just saying Schreiber does it regularly, and I believe at this point, I think the best lacrosse player in the game right now is Tommy Schreiber. I think a lot of people would agree with that. I think even Rabel may have echoed that last night while he was doing the sideline reporting, which was funny. Hats off to the founder of the league doing the sideline reporting yesterday. That was great. Is there maybe a career on the sideline for football games for Rabel? Probably not, but I think that was funny. 640. The goalie play, I've been praising the PLL goalie play for, since it started, even the MLL, and it makes sense. You have fewer roster spots available for goalkeepers, and it makes sense you're just going to get the best of the best. But 640 at the 640 mark in the first quarter, sick save by Troutner on a 6-yard and center. A 6-yard and center shot, that's the shot you want. Like a 6-yard center on the goalie. You like your chances of sticking those all day long. Schreiber gets just absolutely just wrecked and by Troutner on this one. It was a beautiful save. My screen was doing something weird here, and it distracted me as I was saying that. But anyway, sick save, and Troutner did it numerous times. Both goalies, Adams and I'm drawing a blank here. Gettleman for the Archers. They both had a couple of really sick saves. And like I said, the save percentages for the goalkeepers at the pro level, they don't always look great. But if you're looking at it through the proper filter, you realize that these dudes are just facing the best shooters night in, night out, 95, 105 mile an hour rockets all day. And just guys who have been killing goalies since they were kids, one-on-ones, and these dudes still find ways somehow to come up and make big saves. So that is excellent to see. And Troutner, all the goalies played great last night. And another thing was, a lot of people, including myself, have talked about how this isn't polished lacrosse still. And it's definitely gotten better as the season has gone on. It's not what you would expect in terms of polish out of a professional sport still, but it's getting there. But one thing that everyone has to pretty much agree, and if you don't, you're just probably not paying really close attention, is these dudes have been going hard all season. And Ryder Garnsey, he gets a lot of accolades and a lot of attention for the sick goals that he scores and backhands and behind the backs and dives and whatever else that he does. The dude is colorful as a player, both on and off the field, as you're going to get. But he also hustles his ass off harder than ever. Not harder than everybody, but he busts his ass. And it was, 8:45 mark. It must have been the second quarter. Ground ball up towards midfield. Garnsey just goes hard for it, ends up kind of booting the ball out of the pile, grabs it as he's getting beat on to gain the Redwoods a possession. And then I believe after that, he finds Hennenberg. After that, Hennenberg found Kavanaugh to get the Redwoods back to within 3-2. It was 3-0. The Archers had taken a 3-0 lead. And then the Archers kind of battled back, and the Archers had a lead at one point. And this is where another scenario where I'm kind of starting to warm up to a concept in the PLL that I didn't like before is the 2-point shot. It is 7-6. Let me see here. Yeah. 7-6, and then Perkovic for the Redwoods nails a 2-pointer to take the lead. And so in a playoff game, at that stage of the game, when I saw that, I thought for the first time, oh, that's kind of cool. Like you're sitting here and the Redwoods had been kind of down and out the whole game. They go down 3-0 and it goes back and forth a little bit, 6-5 Archers at the half. And then, just for Perkovic to come out and then blast a 2-point shot. It was the first time I thought to myself, and I actually wrote it in my notes, I'm warming up to it, man. So apparently that's how I thought it in my head. I wrote it down like some kind of bro in my notes, and that's how it reads. But it's 8-7 Redwoods, and then I take a pee break. I lingered a little long with talking to my wife as I was taking a pee break, and I was really pouring a beer very slowly. It's just a little bit in the sauce, not in the sauce, I wouldn't say, but getting happy, getting a little bit intoxicated. And I poured my beer a little bit too slowly, and I come back, and all of a sudden it's 13-11. It goes from 8-7 to 13-11, and there's only a minute left, and the Redwoods have a minute left in the third quarter, and the Redwoods have a 13-11 lead. So that was fun. Oh, and then Palin was calling a push. That's what I remember. I came into it, and Palin was calling a push on somebody. Matty Palin, one of the great Syracuse lacrosse goalies, and now one of the great lacrosse officials, probably the most well-known lacrosse official at this point. His face is everywhere. So yeah, I see him calling a push, and then I realize, oh crap, it's 13-11. I missed a boatload of that quarter. So that happened. And then with 47 seconds left, Hennenberg to Kavanaugh. And then Adams makes a huge save. And this was where I was like, damn, these goalies on both sides are making saves that they have no business making. But both Adams and Gettleman played in this game. They'd been splitting time for the Archers, and both of them had a great game. And that robbing of Kavanaugh, where I think Kavanaugh kind of ducked under and had a one-on-one after he gets it from Hennenberg. And then Adams just made another huge just doorstep save. It was great. And then right after that, and this is why I like the shorter field too. This is another scenario in which the shorter field has actually played well, I think, for these guys with the shorter quarters. Is Troutner on the other end shot, I forget who took it, but he makes a save with about 9 seconds. I think you can see in slow motion, 9 seconds, the ball's in his stick. It's out of his stick by about 7.5. He hits Garnsey up at midfield. Argument for second assists, because this would have been one for the goalie. Hits Garnsey at midfield. Garnsey streaks upfield. He loses his shoe. Garnsey's shoe comes off. He keeps booking it upfield between midfield and the box. Nails, who was it? Berg down low, and Berg scores with 1.2 seconds left. I've seen this happen a lot in the PLL, where at the end of quarters or just real quick bang bang, save, goal 7-8 seconds later, and that's a testament to the shorter field and then just the athleticism of these athletes overall. But once again, it's Garnsey. Of course, it's Garnsey that's going to end up being a part of one of those weird plays that goes on. Of course, Garnsey's going to lose his shoe in the process as well. Garnsey got another crazy ground ball, 9:05 in the fourth, as he was getting beat on. So it just proves that these guys are going hard, that they're buying into this shit. They're playing for their lives, their playoff lives anyway here now as well. So I thought that was huge. And then Troutner just kept coming up big. Both teams had really solid defenses coming into this game. Both had played solid defense all year. Both teams played solid defense in this game as well. I believe both of them ended up scoring, right around their average or whatnot, because things started getting a little bit out of hand in the second half. But Troutner has another huge save, 724, and then it goes upfield and Sexton scores with his long pole, face dodge somebody, face dodge Ambler, I think it was. Pretty nice move. 15-11 Redwoods. And, you know, it looked like the Redwoods had the game. I think the Redwoods had about a 3-goal lead, and as we get down to just over under 2 minutes left, towards the end of the fourth quarter, as the game started to look like it could be run out a little bit, Jackson Place runs into Glazner, and he was just turning around, and Place kind of put his head down to hit him, and you can see Place's head do not a normal thing. It didn't look right, and right off the bat, when I saw the replay for when I saw it live, I thought initially he had just gotten knocked unconscious, but when they showed him close up, he was breathing normally, and if you've ever seen a guy get knocked out cold, as evidenced by the fact they're not moving, a lot of times you'll see them initially do a weird breathing thing where they'll breathe rapidly and they'll almost look like they're convulsing, but it's just this weird breathing mechanism, biological response to getting your bell rung and going to sleep. And he didn't do that. He was breathing calmly, and he was really just laying face first awkwardly on the turf. The good thing was nobody touched him. He's laying there, and he didn't move after, which was very concerning. And then you watch the replays in slow motion, and you see very plainly he simply lost control of his motor functions one way or another, and he did not get them back, it didn't look like, even when he was awake. Now, what I'm hoping is that once they got him on the stretcher, and they had him all stabilized because he got put on the full stabilizer. And I don't think I've seen that very often in lacrosse. I've seen it happen where they've put guys on a stabilizer, but it was evident that that was a precaution. This one didn't look like it was just a precaution. This looked like it was the real deal. So it was good that he didn't get moved. He didn't try to move, hoping that he could move, and he just didn't by the end. Everybody was kind of looking for the thumbs up on the way out, and we didn't get that, but his eyes were definitely open. And he was blinking. I could see that as they wheeled him off the field. But it was terrible, man. Terrible. Thoughts and prayers go out to Place and his family and his friends and to the PLL players that were there, to Glazner, to everybody that had to see that, because it was tough to see. My wife is not a sports fan, and I'm constantly showing her highlights with her just giving no response, giving me nothing. And this was not one of those. I showed her, after I saw it, and even she, could see the severity in it right away. So that was terrible, and you could tell after that the Redwoods did score again to take a 4-goal lead, and it just didn't look the same. Epple scored actually, and they're clinching it, but the sails had been taken out of everybody, and the whole stadium felt somber. And there was very, very, and my end note was very little excitement left, and that is the truth. So thoughts and prayers go out to Jackson Place. It stinks that happened, because this was the first playoff game in the PLL. It was an incredible game from start to finish also. So hope he's okay. At this point that I'm recording this, we haven't heard anything yet, so I don't know what the deal is. But as soon as we hear something, we'll throw it up here on Twitter or something to that effect.